Some Chinese tourists lacking basic knowledge before traveling abroad have found themselves in embarrassing situations. On September 16, at Chiang Mai Airport in Thailand, a Chinese family of 5 entered eating mode 30 minutes before boarding their flight, consuming 11 pounds of durian after discovering they could not bring the fruit onto the plane. Due to its overpowering smell, many countries prohibit durians from being brought into hotels or public transport to avoid disturbing other travelers. However, some Chinese tourists are unaware of this rule. According to a video shared by Chinese netizen Mr. Lee, his family was traveling to Chiang Mai, Thailand. His father, who enjoys durian, insisted on buying a large 11-pound durian before boarding. But just before getting on the plane, they still had 3 large boxes of durians left uneaten. Since durians couldn't be brought onto the plane, the family decided to finish all the durian in the 30 minutes before boarding, with each person eating 4 or 5 fist-sized pieces of durian. Mr. Lee, holding a piece of durian, handed the remaining durian to his father and said, "The rest are all yours." His father replied, "That's not possible." In the video, Mr. Lee struggles to eat the durian and admits, "I never want to hear the word durian again in my life." After boarding, the entire family had hiccups and spoke with a lingering smell of durian, leading to complaints from passengers that someone brought durian on board. The family could only awkwardly lower their heads and remain silent. The durian incident might be seen as somewhat comedic. However, there are also many cases of Chinese tourists abroad who argue with locals over a small amount of money. Recently, a Malaysian garb driver took a Chinese family to the airport, but the family refused to pay the toll. The young daughter even called the police, while the police told them to pay the fee. During the process, the young Chinese woman spent half an hour looking for the police, while the Grab driver's new customer waited for half an hour. Finally, the driver yelled at the Chinese family, "You communist bastards." Let's listen to the translated dialogue in Mali.
Open the car.
No, you need to pay. You need to pay first.
I will pay.
I've been waiting for so long, and you go complain?
This is 100 ringgit.
Fine, I'll take the money, but don't have an attitude like a communist. The driver pointed at the girl and said, "You're from China, a communist. You didn't pay the toll." The girl replied that she already paid. The driver said, "You gave me the money, but earlier, I didn't know where you went. I was waiting for you. So were my customers." The girl finally said, 100 ringgit, the police told me. Netizens questioned whether these people were rich or poor, noting that they could afford a trip but didn't have money for the toll. Some commented it's an issue of manners, as they completely disregard the rules. Mr. Wu, who lives in Malaysia, commented that in both China and Malaysia, the toll fees for taxis are usually covered by the passengers. It's likely this Chinese family, due to language barriers, was afraid of being scammed by the driver. But the toll fee was only 100 ringgit, which isn't much, and doesn't seem like a scam. It's a strange behavior. Historically, Chinese people were very polite, didn't place so much importance on money, and the Malaysian driver is right. It's the brainwashing by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, that made them like this. After Malaysia introduced permanent visa-free entry for Chinese nationals, Chinese tourists have flooded the country, but they have brought many issues, causing locals to say that they can't handle it. Recently, a Malaysian vlogger posted a video mentioning that many Chinese commercial districts, such as Seri Petaling and Chersa, have seen Chinese people repeatedly asking locals for money for food. So everyone should be cautious and not fall for it. A netizen commented, "Isn't China strong? What's going on?" Such incidents have been occurring recently. On September 12th, Malaysian local media reported that a local Chinese woman shared a post on Xiaohongshu Red Note saying that while shopping at a mall, 2 well-dressed individuals with a Chinese accent suddenly approached her. They said that due to spending a lot of money, their Alipay was restricted and asked if she could help them buy some food. The woman kindly agreed, and the 2 insisted on adding her on WeChat, saying they needed to repay her. She politely refused and gave them 20 ringgit. Yet the 2 said they were not used to local food and wanted to eat Chinese food, asking her to withdraw 200 ringgit from an ATM for them. They also said they had 2 children at the hotel who needed food. Feeling angry, the woman received a call from her family after telling them her location. The 2 individuals began to panic. Eventually, she took back the 20 ringgit they had, scolded them for trying to scam people, and walked away. Mr. Wong, a resident of Malaysia, commented that since Malaysia opened its doors for visa-free entry, many problematic Chinese people have easily come to Malaysia to engage in scams, prostitution, begging, and so on. This is a common issue Chinese people bring wherever they go. And it is true that these problems are caused by the CCP. A Chinese woman recently posted a video saying she had a dispute with hotel staff in Malaysia.
I'm Chinese and I'm traveling in Malaysia, staying at this hotel. We planned to stay for 6 days, paid for 6 days, but actually stayed for only 5. On the 6th day, we were heading to the next city, so we didn't stay that day and wanted a refund. This morning at 6 a.m., they only checked out but refused to refund the money. This is a scam hotel. I'm asking for an invoice for 6 days, but they can't issue one and can only give an invoice for 5 days. Isn't this ridiculous?
This Chinese woman said that she was scammed by the hotel in Malaysia. She had booked a 6-day stay and paid for it. When she didn't stay on the 6th day, the hotel checked her out but refused to refund, citing their booking policy. She immediately called the hotel a scam. A man traveling with her also chimed in, saying it's laughable. Such shameful behavior. The video showed that this hotel issued a 6-day hotel invoice in the end.
Look, now they've issued a receipt to fool us. We asked them to issue each one separately, the tax bureau invoice. They think we don't understand just because we're Chinese. We're foreigners. They think we know nothing and try to fool us with this.
These Chinese tourists continued to argue at the counter.
It's definitely tax evasion. Otherwise, how could they not issue an invoice?
I mean, you can issue the hotel amount, but you can't issue the details. There's something wrong here. The woman originally posted the video asking netizens for support, but unexpectedly, the comment section turned against her. Some netizens commented they don't have common sense, while others criticized her for making unreasonable demands. Some compared it to buying a durian, eating half, and asking the seller to refund half of the money. Do you think that's possible? Other netizens commented that when Chinese tourists use Chinese-style consumer logic in the international market, it leads to embarrassment. A well-known Chinese tourist travel vlogger on TikTok warned the public that when traveling abroad, it's best to avoid dealing with Chinese people if possible.
Whoa, it's really easy to get criticized for saying this, but I'll say it anyway. I'm making this series of videos on Myanmar. This year, I've traveled to 9 countries, and for all of you who want to travel, here's my personal tip. When you go on a trip, whether you're looking for activities, renting a car, hiring a driver, or anything else, try to avoid dealing with Chinese-speaking people. You can use English, or if you use a translation app, or even if your spoken English is at a basic level, it's usually enough. Just don't go with travel businesses run by Chinese people. The most memorable experience for me was in Egypt. I did a bit of research beforehand. A full day car hire costs about 200 RMB, maybe a little over 250 RMB because the average wage there is very low. I first looked for a Chinese-speaking driver online and he told me the price was 2,000 Egyptian pounds. I did the maths, and 2,000 Egyptian pounds is about 290 RMB, which seemed fine since he spoke Chinese. As a Chinese person, I thought it would be easier to communicate with a Chinese-speaking driver or customer service. But then he asked for 2,000 RMB. Do you know what the average wage in Egypt is? It's 1,500 RMB a month. And this guy wanted to charge me 2,000 RMB for 1 day of car hire. I was shocked. I didn't even know how to respond to him.
The vlogger also mentioned a recent experience in Indonesia at Barmo volcano. She asked about car hire, again a Chinese-speaking contact. They quoted her 1,700 RMB, while she knew that for one person, the car hire should only cost about 600 RMB. The vlogger continued that in Jeju Island, South Korea, the prices are relatively transparent. Car rentals there are usually under 1,000 RMB per day. The last time they went, it was 800 RMB per day. But the Chinese-speaking driver who bought the tickets for them charged them twice the usual price. There's a saying in China, when fellow villagers meet, one may get stabbed in the back. One netizen commented, "When I was in China, I avoided dealing with people from my hometown. Now that I'm in the UK, I avoid dealing with Chinese people." Some netizens commented that the problem lies in the fact that Chinese people, over the past few decades, have had their morals eroded by political movements like the Cultural Revolution. When the country opened up, It focuses solely on wealth accumulation. Such Chinese people, whether in China or abroad, will harm others. The difference is that when you're deceived by fellow Chinese abroad, the impact feels much stronger. Chinese people often have a sense of superiority when visiting Southeast Asian countries, thinking that because China has become powerful, they can act without restraint, which leaves a very bad impression on the locals. A Chinese vlogger, while visiting Kathmandu Durbar Square in Nepal, met an elderly Nepali man who said he had studied in China and visited many places in the country. His response to the vlogger's comments about Taiwan went viral online. Have you been to Taiwan, China? I haven't been to Taiwan, but I have many friends there. Next time, you should visit Taiwan, China. Taiwan, China? We just say Taiwan, not Taiwan, China. It's unnecessary. Do you say Guangzhou, China? No, just Guangzhou, right? After China's aid in the restoration of part of Kathmandu Durbar Square following the 2015 Nepal earthquake, Chinese tourists were charged higher fees than other visitors. The vlogger became furious, feeling that Chinese people were being discriminated against. Hello everyone, I'm Wenge, and I'm in Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal. The building behind me is a landmark in the Kathmandu metropolitan area called Durbar Square. After arriving here, I was really upset. China helped with the restoration here, but Chinese people are charged 1,000 rupees, while tourists from other countries only pay 500. A tour guide pointed at a notice board at the tourist site and said, South Asia Subregional Cooperation 500. Other countries 1,000. The vlogger responded, Wow, 1,000 for China and 500 for all other countries. What's going on here? The key issue is that Chinese people are charged 1,000 while foreigners pay 500. Your country is too arrogant. Really, your country is really something. When the vlogger met the elderly Nepali man who studied in China, the vlogger asked whether the restoration of the Durbar Square was funded by China. The man replied that it wasn't. The ancient monuments were over 500 years old and were not newly built. The restoration only covered a small portion of the area, effectively contradicting the vlogger's claim. When the Chinese vlogger asked if Chinese tourists had to pay 1,000 rupees while others pay 500, the elderly Nepali man replied that the price was set by the government and must be followed, or else they'd have to go to court. His implication was that Chinese people should not expect special treatment here. This is Nepal, not your backyard, leaving the vlogger speechless. However, the Nepali man later said, We are friends. We are friends, right? Friends say things for fun. This place is a historical site dating back 500 or 600 years. Nepal is an ancient country, especially this carving, this temple, and the stone carvings. 500 or 600 years ago, they were top-notch. In the comments section, some netizens said that the reputation of Chinese people has been ruined by people like this vlogger, pointing out that while the regulation stipulates that South Asian Regional Corporation costs 500 and other countries pay 1,000, the vlogger misrepresented it by claiming only Chinese tourists pay 1,000. One netizen said that the vlogger thought that since China is paying, Chinese people should get in for free, which reflects a sense of entitlement. Some others mentioned that when Chinese people talk about Taiwan, they always say Taiwan, China, which is also a result of CCP brainwashing. Another netizen said the elderly Nepali man showed high emotional intelligence, giving the Chinese patriotic little pinks a good lesson. While Nepal has been ruled by a communist government for a long time, it has a basic democratic system, elections, and open internet. The public generally dislikes authoritarian China, though the government is pro-CCP. Recently, the Nepali government planned to follow the CCP's example by banning social media, sparked massive protests. In early September, Nepal saw a Gen Z protest, led mainly by young people, demanding that the government lift the social media ban and tackle corruption. The protest quickly turned into a rebellion against the communist regime, resulting in the fall of the pro-CCP Nepali communist government. The video shows Nepali protesters taking down the hammer and sickle flag after storming the Communist Party headquarters. On September 10, during a public reckoning against Nepal's Communist Party, a video widely circulated online showing a large group of protesters occupying a Communist Party office building and burning items they had seized from inside. One man held up a portrait of CCP leader Xi Jinping, angrily condemned him on camera, and then threw the portrait into the fire. The ousted Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli, the chairman of the Communist Party of Nepal, Unified Marxist-Leninists, had long been pro-CCP, advocating for cooperation with China through the Belt and Road Initiative. From late August to September 3rd, Oli had just returned from attending the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin and the military parade in Beijing. Shortly after, he imposed a social media ban, only to be swiftly overthrown by the people. In recent years, the CCP has invested heavily in infrastructure projects in Nepal, but these projects have failed to provide employment opportunities for locals. Instead, they harmed the environment, fueled government corruption, and contributed to the country's severe debt problems. Protesters condemned the Nepali government's mismanagement over decades, with major corruption uncovered during the construction of Pokhara International Airport. The scale of the corruption reached tens of millions of dollars, but despite frequent reports of government corruption, few officials have faced judicial consequences. Pokhara Airport is a flagship project under China's Belt and Road Initiative. The airport is funded by a $216 million loan from the Export-Import Bank of China, with the project being built by China's state-owned CAMC Engineering. Many Chinese tourists visiting Nepal have witnessed the country's poverty. A female vlogger posted a video showcasing her wealth in Nepal, claiming that Chinese people have a sense of superiority.
Once you come to Nepal, you'll understand what Chinese superiority means. I'm now on the busiest street in the capital of Nepal. Why do I say that Chinese people feel superior here? Because we can easily have a meal that costs more than their entire day's wages. Don't be surprised, because their average monthly income is only about 500 rupees, and even those with a stable job might only earn about 2,000 RMB a month.
However, some netizens left comments saying former Prime Minister Li Keqiang mentioned that 600 million people in China earn only 1,000 yuan a month. Why not mention that? China has even poorer people. Another commented, "Beauty, don't show off too much, or your life might be in danger. You're in a foreign country after all." One more netizen said, "I'm Chinese. This is the first time I've heard of Chinese feeling superior."